and welcome to another episode of the Digital Access Show. Today's guest is a friend of mine, Brett O'Connor. Brett is the founder of the Inception Network. Now, Brett's got a lot of great knowledge to impart today because of the work that he's done over the last 20, 30 years. And welcome, Brett. Thank you for being on our show.
Thanks, Narelle. It's good to see you. I know that's probably ironic, but this is where I've been, running businesses. I had my first business when I was 21, which was a cafe in a food court at Westfield in Sydney. And I got into franchising and all of this sort of stuff. So I've always been in training and business consulting for like the last 30 years. But probably the last 10 years, I've actually gone into the formal system and actually developing training content, doing diploma, back in the old vet help days and all of this sort of stuff. Got into compliance with that as well. And then Inception was actually started up to start up businesses, but also to create training content for simulated businesses as well. And what I started up is local home and garden repairs. We did such a good job of creating a simulated business that it's now turned into, we've gone out into the marketplace and local governments and all of this sort of stuff said, do you realize this would be the perfect thing to service the My Care at Home network and older homeowners? This is where it comes into, well, how have I been able to do that? Because, well, I've been teaching these formal qualifications, not just to, people that are in business or they've got the skills already. We're talking about, I create courses not for everyone, but for everyone else. So people with a disability, people that, don't fit into the course, people that haven't studied for 20, 30 years, all of this sort of thing, over 60s, teach them how to do Facebook management. So what I say is when you create courses for people that don't fit into a box, you come to the realization that there is no box except for what we make of it. And this is where it comes into what I'm finding and why we're here today is we're talking about that, what reasonable adjustments RTOs can make in the qualification system. But because the technology is freely available and all the accessibility technology already exists, there's absolutely no reason why all of the students, they can't implement it into their training and assessment resources because it doesn't cost the students anything extra to actually use it.
That's it, Brett. I mean, it is such an easy thing to do. And what Brett's talking about with reasonable adjustment, as he says, RTOs, which is a registered training organisations here in Australia. So TAFE Queensland, there's private RTOs, universities, I think they're in it. Anyone where there's some form of training is registered as an RTO here in Australia. So, Brett, when you say reasonable adjustment, what type of things would come in as a reasonable adjustment?
Well, if you look up the training and assessment training package, which the certificate for in training and assessment, which we're in the process of changing over to a new one. It's just been reviewed. Most people, and including yourself, are doing the one that was developed in 2016. The new one, which comes in December, you can no longer deliver the old one anymore. It's got a lot of these digital units and all this sort of thing, and it incorporates that into the training. Now, when they release these training products, is what they call it, and it is a product, not a service. So under the ACCC, it meets all the same rules as a product. They release a companion volume which describes and defines things like terms like reasonable adjustment. So a reasonable adjustment is, as stated in the Disability Discrimination Act, what's reasonable for a business to do to overcome a particular disability. Now, it's a recognised disability, which could be things like autism and this sort of ADHD and stuff like that.
Mental health isn't considered?
That's right. Anxiety is considered a recognised disability. Burnout is another one, recognised by the World Health Organization. So all of these things, it's like fear can be something which prevents you from doing something, but it can also save your life. It depends on whether you're triggered or you're glimmered, whether you've got a negative or a positive contingency plan, which is a different part of the brain and the fight, flight, or freeze response. And this is where it comes into, with a reasonable adjustment, it's for people that can't just change the way they think. They don't have the neuroplasticity. So this is where a reasonable adjustment is only for something which is basically based on a condition that can't be improved through training. If you go blind, then you shouldn't have to, change the content or have a special cohort for that, because if they're signing people up and they're blind with a disability, which is a recognised disability, and there's accessibility checkers and all this sort of thing, they have under the ACCC, if they sign you up and the standards for RTO say that you have to develop training content that's suitable for that training cohort. So they then have to make the adjustment, and they can't say it's financial hardship, because if they say that yes, we're accessible, and you find out that it's not, then you can actually, or they don't make what's called a reasonable adjustment, or they say, oh no, we can't do that because of financial hardship. Basically, anything that is paid for under the NDIS you can't use the rule, it's financial hardship, so we can't do it. You just have to not accept that person into your course if you're not set up to accommodate that disability.
Doesn't that become discrimination?
It's not discrimination. It's okay. If you don't have a lift installed in your building, then you can't employ someone with a wheelchair.
Got it. Understand. Yeah.
That's when it's an unreasonable adjustment to say, I want to work for you. You need to put in a lift, because that causes financial hardship on the business. So that's a reason why when you go to the Disability Discrimination Commission, or the people that look
Human Rights Commission,
they're going to say, well, this is going to cause financial hardship. So no, we're not going to tell them to give you a job because they can't install a lift. So this is where a lot of the things with the NDIS is coming in. But it just comes down to, again, for everything that is a good thing, there's always someone who's going to rot the system, and there's going to be problems with that. And the training industry is no different.
So what in the training industry, say, okay, I've signed up for the TAE course, what is a reasonable adjustment for me? What would you consider? For those who don't know, I actually have a severe vision impairment. So,
So, this is where you've got a severe vision impairment, but you're not totally blind from birth, which is why you've been able to, your trainers have done a wonderful job and been able to get you through all but I think 2 of the units now. You're up to doing
I'm on the last unit now.
So you're up to doing the practical assessment. But this is where it comes into, how are you going to do that, and how are they going to assess you is the issue now. So maybe they've come up against a wall where it's just physically the trainers can't get you through to the course without some sort of action, which has come back to you, or your RTO has come back to you, and the directors have spoken to you, and they were like, we want to fix this. But at the same time too, this is what you do, so they should be paying you. If you've identified this problem and they can't fix it themselves, they should be paying you or paying another professional to fix this problem. And this is because, like I said, you're a consumer and you have consumer rights, even though it's a fee-free course. The government is still paying them to deliver this course to you. So it's not a free course, but even if an RTO was doing free training with you and it was a defective product, you would still have the consumer rights to get them to repair that defective product.
They should all be accessible from the start, shouldn't they?
Well, there's a standard, I think it's standard 5.1, which says that before enrolment or training commences, then students have to be properly informed as to what they need to do, or what the RTO can do, and the capabilities of the RTO, and what they need to do to get through. There's also another one that says that a trainer or assessor or anyone that works for the RTO, including marketing people, can't tell you that you can get through a course in a manner that's not stated in what they call their training and assessment strategy, which is what standard 1.1 to 1.3, which outlines all of the resources and that they have and all this sort of thing. And it would say in there that that their LMS is accessible for blind people. So this is where it comes into, but TAFE is employing consultants that are telling them that, yes, it's accessible, but it's not until a blind person actually comes through and someone from any cohort, someone with a disability or something like that comes through, this is when the RTO finds out that whether or not that they can actually, live up to the standards. And it's not like it's a matter of calling their bluff. It's just they genuinely believe that they can get you through. But this is where it comes into, it depends on the capabilities of the trainers more so than the RTO themselves.
That people test, they've got a screen reader, they know how to use it, but because you've got sight, there's that unconscious, and it is unconscious. They really do mean well, but there's an unconscious, oh yeah, okay, we know it's over there, so we just go tab, tab, we're going to go back one, yeah, we can get to it. And it's not that they mean anything wrong. They don't. The problem is they're not living it.
And I have, because I've been doing SEO for years, but I'm building basic websites without the plugins. And this is where I've gone back to web developers and I've said, so why aren't you turning this stuff on? And they go, oh, we can do that. It's just that customers don't request it. Well, yeah, this is it. And they say that there's not, it's not that they don't have the money to do it. They don't have the money to change it because they've already spent the money on this stuff. A lot of the stuff that they recommend that is a reasonable adjustment, the Disability Discrimination Act, I think it's Section 6, doesn't say what a reasonable adjustment is, just says what it's not.
Yeah.
Okay, so why doesn't it do that? Because technology has changed so much that it's no longer a lot of the stuff that gets suggested to me by RTOs. It's not. It's already there. It's already in the package. We should already be doing it. But because there's a 2-year teach out period for the cert for TA and qualifications, this is where this was written 2 years ago. A lot of the technology when this qualification came into effect,
it's gone.
We've got new generations of technology now, particularly after COVID and this sort of stuff. So,
and this is it. People don't know what they don't know. And I think that's what we're saying, really, isn't it? Because, if you've not been trained in it, I mean, to my mind, universities, RTOs, TAFEs, education systems, this should be part of, the digital accessibility should be part of web development training, IT training, business training, anything where there's digital content, they should be trained in what good document structure is, what good digital accessibility is, and really how simple it is. Because the moment they've done that,
they are, but it's at Cert 3 level, which, this is where you can't get vet student loan as, people want to go for the diploma. But they miss the stuff at Cert 3 and Cert 4. It's not, Bloom's taxonomy isn't a logical progression. It's using different thinking. And then you get into uni and it's all about analysis, synthesis, and creation. So that's why they call it higher education, because it's a higher level of thinking. But you can go to uni and learn all this sort of stuff, but you've still got to come down to vet and do a vet course to learn how to apply it. Because vet's all about, basically stops about application thinking, because it's what is the application of this theory in the workplace? And this is what we're struggling with at the moment. But if the trainers and assessors don't know this stuff, so if your trainers and assessors don't know, they don't know what they don't know. They're trusting the people that are developing this course.
That's it.
Then
that's it exactly.
We're going to get what we've always got.
Yeah, that's it. So, Brett, I always ask for a couple of takeaways from our guests. What takeaways can you give to the trainers, to the students?
I would say to the students, there's two things that stick out for me in regards to instructional design. And it's not the 80 system, or it's not preferential learning styles. It's a thing called the 70-20-10 principle, which is 10% of your knowledge comes through learning, formal learning. Okay. 20% of your knowledge comes from coaching and mentoring. 70% of your knowledge comes from actually doing it. So as you get the confidence to do it and you go there, that's when you're going to get the 70% of your learning. So don't expect you're going to get everything that you need to know to do it. You're not going to you're not going to learn 70% of your knowledge until you go out there, and don't be afraid to fail. You're not failing. The only way to truly fail is to do nothing. And then the other one is the format instructional design model, which, like Simon Sinek, starts with why, but then it's what to do. And this is also how business consultants put value on the IP. When you know why you want to do it, it's relevant to you. Then you work out what to do. And when it's relevant to you, then you work out, well, how can I do it? And that's when they go into a training course. Then it comes down to, well, what if it doesn't work for me? Then how do I adapt it? Okay, which is what I've just described there is the unit of competency.
Yes.
The outline is the why. The
Yep.
what you do is in the descriptor and the
Yep.
performance criteria. Okay.
Mm.
How you do it is the knowledge evidence.
Yes.
And the what if is the performance evidence. What if,
Mm.
what if you get given this situation? What are you going to do? And that's what
Yeah.
the summative assessment is based on. These are the training models that L&D and businesses use for their own
Yep.
staff.
Yeah.
So, it's the education sector needs to learn from them, but the hardest people in the world to educate are educators. And it's not until it makes it relevant to them. And unfortunately, AI is not going to take your job. People that use AI will, but that's the stage that we're at with the education system. They can't prevent it. And a lot of the accessibility tools are being used by AI, but we still need to teach people the basics of accessibility and what the problems are and why they do it, because now they're not going to know how to make it accessible, so they can't adapt their system that they paid to get set up if they don't make it accessible, or they don't know how to make it accessible in the first place. So it's going to cost them money.
That's it. Brett, I can't thank you enough for coming on today. I really appreciate it. I hope that people listening have found it useful. How can people get in contact with you, Brett?
Well, I'd say jump on the website, inception.net.au. So that's for the Inception Network Australia. Oh, sorry, this
Yep.
side. Because we don't have time to go back to basics in training. I want to know what you can do for me, or how we can work together. And I can find someone else to do whatever you can't do, because our network's, 25,000 businesses just with the business jobs expos alone. So, yeah.
Thanks again, Brett. So this is Brett O'Connor from the Inception Network. And as you've obviously realised, Brett's been in the education, training, vet industry for many years. He's got the knowledge and he's a good guy to talk to. So this is, I'm not sure what episode of the Digital Access Show. I've lost count. We just keep churning them out. And if you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, share, review, let people know about it, because seriously, it really comes down to accessibility plus usability. So accessibility of the information plus usability of the tools that the information's on, whether it's a website or a digital document or whatever, that they need to be user-friendly, plus understanding. And understanding's the language you use, the level of language, the type of words. All of them together are going to give you better communication. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time.